Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the BJJ Foxcast. I am your host, Alex Martinez, and today I'm super excited to have a good friend of mine, Alex Montalvo, on the podcast. Alex is a blue belt under John Cabay. Originally from California, he joined the Army out of Colorado in 2001. He spent 18 years, 4 months, and 20 days in the Army, got out in 2019, did 5 combat deployments in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and was a striker commander, a Bradley commander, and he is now a kids coach in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, God bless him, at Greywolf Ares BJJ. And he's also one of the ambassadors for We Defy, the Weedify Foundation in Arizona. Alex, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, brother. Really happy to be here.
I'm so glad you're here, dude. So I want to get right into the meat of it, right? But let's talk about Weedify. What is it, and how did you get involved with them?
Okay, so about 2 years ago, I was training at Allied Jiu Jitsu in Peoria. Cheers, by the way.
Cheers. Yes.
How do you like it?
I love it. I love it. I'm sorry, but before we get into that, we're having Angel's Envy today. Beautiful bourbon. That is a tasty bourbon. I've never had it before.
Very good.
And this is one of your go-tos, you said.
Yep, it's my personal favorite.
I love it. I love it. You know. Before we get, we're gonna get into Weedify. But one thing about bourbon is like, it's really hard to find like the ones you really like on the shelf. You know what I mean? Like you gotta. I don't want to say you gotta settle, but you gotta have like a go-to that's on the shelf, and then a go-to like, oh my gosh, you know, when you find it,
it's like like
the Holy Grail.
The Grail.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Angel's Envy is my go-to on the shelf. But you know, I've had Weller, I've had Blanton's.
Yeah,
I've
so
even
good.
had my buddy in Kentucky when I was there. He had a bottle of Pappy.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
I got to try some Pappy, and he's like, "You're just gonna get a sip
That's
of this."
Yeah, you know, Amy and I are big into tequilas.
Okay.
And our good friend of mine, Mike Kotzbach, he's one of my blue belts. He's ruined tequila for me. He gave me a tequila that's so good that now, like, my go-tos are like swill. They're like garbage.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh, dude, he's ruined it. Mike, you ruined tequila for me. So, but no, it's awesome. Like, he brought one to the house, and he goes, you're going to love this one. He was right. So,
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, but We Defy.
Okay, We Defy. So 2 years ago, I was training at Allied in Peoria.
Yep.
And I saw all this, like, We Defy gear, patches, slippers, gis. And I could tell, because me being a veteran, I could just tell when something's veteran themed or oriented.
Yep.
So I looked it up, I Googled it, and found out it's a foundation, a nonprofit foundation. And the mission of We Defy is to provide scholarships, jiu-jitsu scholarships, to combat disabled veterans.
Is it 100% covered?
Yes.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Yep. So the scholarships, I believe, are 12 months. Travis, if you're listening, please don't get mad at me. Travis Larson's the president of the foundation. He's in Tucson.
Okay.
It's 12 months covered. You're provided with a gi, and you're also provided with a mentor who's a We Defy ambassador who checks up on you and just makes sure your training is going well.
Yeah. And I think that's really important. That mentorship piece, you know what
Definitely.
I mean? Yeah, yeah.
Definitely, because jiu-jitsu can be really intimidating if you're just getting into it.
Yeah.
And especially when you're also grappling with some form of disability, whether it's physical or mental, it makes it that much more difficult. So having the mentor there, I'm a mentor.
Nice.
And I think I have 2 guys in Texas that I check up on and 1 in Washington.
Okay.
And just check on them, make sure they're doing okay. And being a veteran myself, I can also tell them, it's like, hey, you okay?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and
They'll open up to you a little bit.
Us. Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So how did you get involved with the foundation? How did that work?
So I went to the website, and on the website, you can apply for the scholarship. You can apply to become an ambassador, because there is an application process. And you're vetted, and just make sure there's nothing untoward's going on. But then you're brought in, and you're connected with others in the network. Most of the We Defy ambassadors that I know of in Arizona are in Tucson.
Okay.
But in Phoenix, you got me, you got Tony Nolan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Tony, if you're listening, heal up, buddy.
I love you, buddy. I love you. Hey, we're raising money for him, so I'm
Awesome.
it's so humbling to see like how hard he's working to get back up, man. It's so cool, man. I love you, Tony, and heal up quick, buddy.
Yep. And so we just network with each other, and basically it's driven by two things: fundraising. So merchandise sales, all proceeds go towards the scholarship. So you'll see seminars that benefit We Defy. I'm actually, remember I talked to you about it. I was thinking about doing one in January. It didn't pan out, but Memorial Day's coming up, and that's when I'm shooting to do it.
Yeah.
Or merchandise sales, We Defy rash guards, We Defy gis, shirts, hoodies.
And this is open to everybody, right?
Yes.
You can just go on the website and help out that way, right?
Yep,
Financially.
absolutely.
And I'm assuming there's like a method to donate money and you know, through the foundation as well. So
there is.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really good program. Something I really believe in, which is veteran mental health. Excuse me. And jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And you're melding the two together.
Yeah.
So that's how I got involved with Weedify, and it's been really cool to try and help.
So is it something that maybe jiu-jitsu helped you in such a way that you feel like compelled to give back?
Absolutely.
Yeah. How tell me about that.
So a little background about me. You mentioned in my introduction 5 combat tours. That is a lot.
That's a lot.
57 months total combat time when you add it all up for me.
Wow.
I'm a Purple Heart recipient.
Wow.
I was in an IED strike March 29, 2004. Little shrapnel on my lip, and before this was even a thing, I probably got some sort of TBI from it, from the blast.
Yeah.
But when I got out of the Army, you got to imagine being so tight with people. You know, you live together, you shower together, you eat together.
Yeah.
And you have that family that you depend on, because over there, it's, you know, it's all you got.
Yeah.
You know, mom and dad and boyfriend, girlfriend are thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
So how does jiu-jitsu help me? So when I came out of it, jiu-jitsu is giving me two things. It's giving me that family, that camaraderie. You know, and not just at my own gym at Greywolf. It's like I feel welcome everywhere I go. It's like when I come visit you at East Mesa, or I go visit Paul's, or I go to Cachino's. You know, everybody's been welcoming, and I can feel safe.
Yeah.
But the flip side of it is controlled violence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for someone like me who's done as much combat time as I have, that is a very good therapeutic outlet, because a lot of times when us veterans come back from combat, we're searching that adrenaline high.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it leads into very risky behaviors.
Like what?
DUI, you know, firearms incidents.
Yeah.
Do
you find there's a lot of veterans that self-medicate?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, through alcohol or other means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do.
And is it something that you're maybe, I don't want to say you, like you, but they, you know, in general, is it something that they're just searching for that, I mean, I've never been shot at. I've never been in an IED strike. I've never had any of that happen, but I cannot imagine a adrenaline rush or adrenaline dump.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let me put it to you this way. Take the feeling you have of a major fight in a tournament, but add in the detail that your life literally depends on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that sort of amplitude. And there, once you've experienced it, nothing comes close.
Yeah.
And you try and search for it, because in a real twisted sense, you miss it. So a lot of veterans self-medicate, some healthily, some not so healthily. Like my self-medication, honestly, is my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But some guys take up skydiving.
Yeah.
Hunting, fishing.
Yeah. Is it something like, is the therapy, is it therapeutic because you're able to immerse yourself in it?
I would say so.
Okay, because I mean, because you mentioned hunting, skydiving, all that stuff. If you get deep enough into the woods, it could become like a third of your life. Like for me, jiu-jitsu is 1/3 of my life. No, it's more than that. It's 65% of my life because I'm doing it for a living now.
Right.
But, you know, you always think about like the three points in your life. You got family, you got jiu-jitsu, and you got work. And if you lose one of them, you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do with all this time? Right. Yep. So yeah, I can imagine you're able to immerse yourself. You lose Army, you lose Marine Corps, and whatever it is, but you can kind of replace it with that thing you can immerse yourself into.
And you can immerse in jiu-jitsu, as you and I both know, is very immersive. You know, you become tight with your gym.
Yeah.
You know, it's like your own little, I'm not clique, tribe, whatever you want to call it, but it's also an extended family.
It's your tribe.
It's your tribe.
Yeah.
And, you know, you see it with jiu-jitsu students always wearing their colors.
Yep.
You know, you go to a competition, everybody's wearing their T-shirts or their hoodies or their hats. And it's an identity.
Yeah.
And with veterans, and myself included, you lose a little bit of that identity when you leave the service.
Of course.
Especially after being in combat.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's difficult because you don't necessarily know what to do with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so with jiu-jitsu, it's like I can come in, I can be safe, I can be me. But at the same time, I can get that adrenaline. I can get that controlled violence in a safe, supportive environment where there is no danger unless you're stupid.
Which I've been. Yeah.
No, I think everybody has. I had to jump on one of my kids because he didn't let go after a tap.
Yeah.
But it's so uplifting.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's nothing like it. And jiu-jitsu is the closest I feel like I can get to that feeling again.
Yeah.
That feeling of camaraderie, that feeling of adrenaline, that excitement, that shared trials, shared trials, you know, learning together, you know, rolling together, developing together.
Yeah.
And, excuse me, I'm just trying to word this right.
It's okay. Yeah. Take your time, man.
But, you know, it's hard to put a finger on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me.
And for people that are not, that don't know, I mean, I'm one of them. But you know, I read and I talk to a lot of veterans. I have a lot of friends that are veterans, combat veterans like yourself. And I want people to understand how rare it is to have somebody with this much combat experience. If you were to take the entirety of the Army, how many people actually forward deploy? 10%? 15%?
Not even.
Okay, let's call it 8%. And how many people actually leave the gate of that forward operating base?
Okay, so you're at 8%. Take it down to about
1%. 1%. And how many people of that 1% are actually pulling triggers? It's a fraction.
Yeah.
It's a fraction. So when people think Army, they're thinking, oh, you know, these guys all are there. There's this giant, you know, 800,000 people that are marching forward into Afghanistan and doing all the shooting. No, it's a small percentage. And so if you think about like the impact you can make by buying a hoodie from Weedify, by buying a hat from Weedify, getting somebody on the mat, it's huge, man. You can make a huge impact. You could impact somebody's life directly. And I want people to understand that because it may seem like almost like an insurmountable thing, right? Like there's so many veterans, man. How do we help them all? Dude, just start. Just start helping, right? Get them on the mats. And I don't know anything other than jiu-jitsu. There might be like a better way to do it. I don't know. Maybe skydiving is the better way to go. I don't know.
From my experience and just talking with my friends, I tell my friends, I go train.
Yeah.
Go train.
Yeah.
You know, and even if it's not jiu-jitsu, you don't want to roll around with men and get all sweaty, or women.
Right.
It's like, get all sweaty. Okay. Boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, you know.
Get it out of your system.
Get it out of your system.
Yeah.
Because the truth is once you experience that lifestyle and lived it, is very, very hard to shut it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say it's almost impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. What made you join the Army?
Old-fashioned patriotism, and as I like to joke, I watched one too many Rambo movies.
Yeah. Was it anything like the Rambo movies when you got into
Nope.
Yeah, man.
Nope.
Yeah. So tell me about that moment. When did you say, like, yeah, I'm doing this?
So I'm gonna play a little game with you just to put in perspective. How old do you think I was?
Oh gosh. 2001. 2001.
You're talking about when I made the decision to join, right?
You were 17 years old.
Not when I made the decision to join.
Oh, okay. When did you make the decision?
I was 7
oh,
when
shit.
I made the decision to join.
Okay.
All my life, and you can ask my mother this, and she's going to hear this podcast.
Yeah.
All I ever wanted to do was be in the military. Now the branch changed.
Yeah.
My original dream was I wanted to be a fighter pilot in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And then I wanted to be a fighter pilot in the Navy because I watched Top Gun.
Of course.
You know, Air Force, and I wanted to be a pilot. And then, Navy SEALs are cool. Let's go back to the Navy. And then, Marine sniper. Let's go back to the Marines. But I was roughly 16, 17 when I finally settled on the Army.
Okay. And what made you, I don't want to say settle, what made you decide the Army was the way to go?
The Army, and I'm good. I was a recruiter for a little while, so I'm going to put my recruiting hat on.
Yeah.
The Army's the only one that guarantees you your job up front.
Okay.
Every other branch, it's like you pick your job after you sign the contract.
Yeah.
So you sign an open contract not knowing what you're going to get.
Right, yeah.
The Army, you know what you're getting in your contract before you sign it.
That's nice.
So that was a good deal for someone as young as I was. Now, I scored an 86 on my ASVAB.
Holy shit, that's really good.
And so guys at MAPS, Military Entry Processing Station, they were asking me, why in the hell do you want to go infantry?
Yeah. Yeah. You can do anything you want, right?
You can do anything you want. Why do you want to be a trigger puller? And that's what I wanted to do.
And I think the ASVAB only goes to like 90 something, right? It's not like a 0 to 100 because 83 is really good.
Yeah, it's generally speaking, it's a 0 to 100 test. Okay. But some of the other scores in the ASVAB, like your general technical score, your GT score.
Yeah.
You were in the Navy, so
I was.
You know some of this.
Yeah.
Like you could get a 110 or 115.
Yeah,
that's really good in the GT score.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a high score.
Yeah, because I scored in the like mid 80s, maybe high 80s, and they're like, "Yeah, what do you want to do?" So I was like, "Okay, cool." So
there you go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But what made me decide to join the military was I looked up to them.
Okay.
I wanted to be them.
Yeah, what was it about them?
Being a part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
The military is a very selfless life.
Yeah.
You know, because the mission comes first. Everything comes first, and then you come second.
Yeah.
Being a part of something bigger, feeling like you actually make a difference, that you're doing something of value.
Yeah.
To the world. Now, I know that's very cliche, and you know, after 18 years in the Army, I'm not gonna lie, I got really jaded about that outlook.
Everybody does, man.
But that's why I did it, and that's what kept me going for so long.
Yeah. Well, nobody misses the machine.
No.
You miss the people.
You miss
your buddies. You miss your friends, people that you got into it with. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That, like, one of my best friends, and we just reconnected. His name's Doug Woodruff. And he and I got into a fist fight. On the ship, we got into a fist fight. Like, we were in the same division. We got into a fist, like literally, like we were it. But I missed the guy. I miss being around him. So I'm sure, there's a lot of that too.
Yeah. Well, when you're that close to people, tempers are going to flare and stuff. I almost threw fists with my squad leader in Iraq.
Yeah.
But you do miss them because like I've said, you become closer than most people have any concept of being.
Yeah.
Because like I said earlier, it's like you and your buddies is all you got over there.
Yeah.
No mama, no papa, no Uncle Sam.
Yeah. Tell me about the workup going to a combat deployment. Is there something that, like, you remember? Because, you always hear about, like, in every podcast, everything you listen to is all about, SEALs and the Marine Corps special operations and all these guys doing their workups, and it all sounds cool, right? What's a workup in the Army infantry? What does that look like?
So you'll start, basically training for a deployment starts roughly a year out.
Okay.
you know you're gonna go.
Yeah.
So you start with your basic weapons qualifications. You know, your rifle, your machine gun. If you're on a vehicle, your vehicle weapon system. Then you'll advance up into unit certifications where you'll certify as a fire team, then as a squad, then as a platoon, then as a company, then as a battalion. Then once all that's done, the whole brigade goes to one of the two national, well, not national training centers, because one of them is actually called the National Training Center. But you go to either Fort Irwin, California, or Fort Polk, Louisiana, and basically it's a brigade level exercise to certify the brigade as combat ready to deploy.
Wow.
Then after that, we start prepping our equipment to leave, packing containers, getting vehicles prepared to leave, packing your own personal gear. And then usually we go on some sort of leave, a little pre-deployment vacation, and then come back from that. And then it's send the equipment off, and then it's just a waiting game.
Yeah. So how long, how long from the, well, you said you said it's a year. And if you were to count the amount of days you were home versus the time you were training, what would that be like in that year?
Oh, once it really starts picking up,
yeah,
I'd say 2 weeks to a month at a given time in the field, versus maybe a month or two at home.
Okay.
And then the big training center rotations are 45 days. Yeah. So that's a month and a half.
Yep.
So I'd say it's almost half in, half out.
Okay. Yeah. It's very similar to a deployment when I was in the Navy. You go in and out, you know, like a month here, a week there, just for quals, and then, you know, the battle group has to qualify, and then the battle group deploys. So very, very similar to that. But so tell me about your specific job in the Army. Before we go into that, you decide Army's the way to go. You go to boot camp. Where'd you go to boot camp?
Fort Benning, Georgia.
Fort Benning, Georgia. Did you like Georgia?
I do like Georgia, actually.
Georgia's fucking awesome.
I didn't like Georgia in the summer. Well, yeah. Actually, no.
There's worse places.
The king of humidity in the summer, well, actually, it was spring when I was there, but Louisiana.
Dude, yes.
That humidity is something else.
Well, it's a swamp. They want to pretend that they're not a swamp, but it's a swamp. I love Louisiana. Don't get me wrong. Great food, great people, but holy crap, dude. Yeah, it's
awesome
a swamp.
Food.
Yeah. So, you went to boot camp, and then out of boot camp, how do you... Like, do you go to like infantry school, or what do you do?
So it's a little different. In the Navy, you go to your boot camp and then you go to your A school.
Yep.
Right. Well, with the infantry and certain other MOS's jobs in the Army, boot camp and what we call AIT, Advanced Individual Training, is put into one big blob.
Gotcha.
So my basic training and my AIT together, I was actually in boot camp for 3 months.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Okay.
I started September 1st, 2001, and I graduated November 30th, 2001.
Wow. Okay. That's a long time.
Yep. So, and then at week 9, halfway through, we had a family day where family could come visit and stuff.
Did you actually do like a graduation ceremony on family day or no?
No. We this is a funny story. I got to tell this story because whenever I talk about family day, I have to tell this story.
Yeah.
So I was in JROTC in high school.
Okay.
And I was good at drill and ceremony, marching.
Oh.
Well, I shot my mouth off a lot about being good. And, well, on family day, we were on the parade field, and the families were watching, and we had to run out, charging with our rifles, screaming at the top of our lungs.
Yeah.
And I was running, and then it's like slow motion. I feel myself clip something on the concrete, go airborne, and this is in front of the drill sergeant's family, everything, and just bam, right into the concrete.
Oh my gosh.
And I ate some humble pie.
Yeah.
But we did like this drone ceremony performance for the families, and then some guys were granted a pass. I don't think I was. I just stayed in the barracks.
Okay.
Because my family didn't come till the real graduation.
Gotcha.
And then after family day, we continued training.
Yeah.
And did all the infantry stuff.
Yeah. What was the one piece of advice that you got before you went off to boot camp? What was the one piece of advice?
I wouldn't say anybody gave me the advice, but I knew going into it, just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, don't volunteer for anything, right?
Don't volunteer for anything. Just keep your head down. Do what you're supposed to do. Do what the drill sergeant tells you. Even if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Just do what they tell you and you'll be okay.
Yeah. So let me tell you what stupid over here did. I get to boot camp, and it was nothing like I expected. I expected, like, okay, so I expected, okay, I'm going to fly to Chicago O'Hare. They're going to pick me up on this Navy bus. I'm going to take this Navy bus with all of the other people going to boot camp, right? And then we're going to drive into the military base, and it's going to be like, get off the bus, and yelling, and you're standing at none of that. Nothing happened. I get to O'Hare. I'm looking around. I don't know where the hell to go, right? And I ask somebody, I'm like, hey, where do, like, recruits for boot camp go? And they're like, oh, that way. So I walk over, and it's close to the USO, and there's somebody rounding us up. And it was like 3 of us. We got in this van, right? So I'm riding in this van on the way to boot camp. We go through the gate, and we get out of this van, and nobody's yelling. I'm like, okay, this is fucking weird, right? They're like, okay, go in here. And we did a piss test right away, and then we start filling out paperwork and stuff. And I was in my regular clothes for like 3 days. I expected, like, shaved heads and fucking, whatever, but none of that happened. It was just so surreal. So anyway, so we get there, and one of the instructors there, this guy, Tarwater, I can't remember his first name, but he was my drill instructor, and he's like, can any of you guys march? And I'm like, I watch Full Metal Jacket. I can fucking do that, right?
No.
So he has me march in this little square, this little marching back and forth. And like 3 or 4 of us raised our hand. And he's like, okay, they called our names and you've been selected. And I don't know what that means. So they put us in this barracks, and I'm still in my civilian clothes, right? So the next day, more people, and the next day, more people. And they're like, okay, we're going to march you guys to your barracks. And so boot camp was supposed to be 8 weeks. So he says, I'm going to show you your home for the next 10 weeks. And I'm like, I'm 3 days. Yeah, I'm 3 days deep, and you motherfuckers can stay as long as you want. I'm leaving in 8 weeks, right? So I'm marching. So I got into this drill team. I was a part of the drill team. So in our division, Company 947, our company. So in our company, we had the drill team, the choir, and the band. We were the ceremonial team, right? Okay. That would do graduation. So that's why you stay the extra 2 weeks.
Oh.
So that your 8th week, you're ready for your first graduation. That's not yours, by the way. And then your 9th week, you do another graduation that's not yours. And then the 10th week, you do your own graduation. So it's like, don't volunteer for anything. It just prolongs the
pain.
But yeah, anyway, sorry. So we were talking about your infantry training after the family day.
Yep. So after family day, because leading up to family day, it's basic combat training. It's boot camp.
Okay.
Now, after family day, we started doing infantry specific stuff. Now, a big chunk of us would go off and do mortar stuff, your 11 Charlies, which are your mortar infantrymen, and then the 11 Bravos, which are your rifle guys, your trigger pullers.
Yeah. We
would train on our weapon systems. I was in 11 Bravo. And then they would put us back together for FTX, final training exercise, field training exercise.
Yep.
We went out for a week in the field and just did exercises, stuff like that. And then, I don't know if they still do this anymore, but we had a 25-mile ruck march.
Oh, Jesus.
Back.
So to that point, what was your longest ruck march to that point?
15 miles.
Okay. That's a long freaking hike.
So,
but you're adding 10 more.
Yep, adding 10 more. Ooh. And as a matter of fact, the first 10 miles of the 25-miler called the Bayonet was missions, were short training exercise lanes, sticks lanes. And so we were carrying like ammo cans full of concrete.
Jeez.
And we're doing this all through the night. So
yeah. How much weight are you carrying?
I was a saw gunner when this happened. So I had my saw, which is about 10 pounds, 10, 12 pounds.
Okay.
Plus a drum of ammo, that's another 3 pounds. Plus another drum of ammo, that's another 3 pounds. Plus my rucksack, which was 35 pounds.
Ooh.
Then, like, for the mortar lane, I carried 2 120-millimeter tubes filled with sand. So those were probably 10 to 15 pounds each.
So about 70 pounds so far?
About 70 pounds.
Wow. Yeah.
And then And then the last 15 miles was a straight ruck march back.
Yeah.
And I, to this day, have never felt pain in my knees like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't walk properly by the end of it.
Oh, my gosh.
And I ugly cried when we got done with it because I was in so much pain, yet I was so proud to have endured that.
Yeah.
So, and then after that, we go into reset, which cleaning all our weapons, all our equipment, stuff like that.
That same night?
Not that same night, the next day.
Okay.
Like we do the bayonet, we get to Honor Hill, we have this ceremony where we earn our cross rifles. You know, the Marines have the crucible and they get their Eagle Globe and Anchor, same concept.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then we went back to the barracks, went to sleep, and then we got up, had a warrior breakfast, which was steak and eggs.
Nice.
And we were watching Blade. I remember it.
Great movie.
And then we go into reset, cleaning all our equipment and stuff like that, final inspections, and then we graduate.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So the graduation ceremony, your parents had already been there. Families have already been there.
Families had. My parents hadn't.
Okay. Okay.
So
that's right. That's right. So yours came for that ceremony?
Mine came for the ceremony. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. So why did they skip the Parents' Day or the Family Day?
I told them to stay home.
Nice.
Because it was just like I'm not gonna tease myself.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
You know, and because goodbyes are never easy.
Yeah. They suck.
So I told them to stay home.
I remember we had a family day like the day, maybe 2 days before graduation. I mean, you're basically done, right? You're basically, there's no more tests. There's no more firefighting shit because that's a lot of boot camp. You got to, there's no one going to come help you when there's a fire on the ship. So you got to learn how to fight fires. So, so you pass all that and then they tell you like when your parents show up, like don't start hugging people, like maintain your military bearing. Oh, fuck that. When I saw my mom, I was crying. I'm such a mama's boy, dude. When I saw her, I was like, oh my gosh, I just gave her a big hug. I couldn't help myself.
Nope. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, so you get through that. And then at that point, do you get assigned to, a company somewhere or how does that work?
So usually, well, not usually. By the end of basic training, you find out where you're going. I was different because I was originally an airborne contract.
Oh.
So I was originally supposed to be a paratrooper.
Okay.
But we had Christmas Exodus, and you know I didn't maintain PT while I was on Christmas Exodus. I don't think any private did.
Yeah.
And I came back, and I wasn't doing so hot with my PT, and I wanted to get off Sand Hill. I'd been on Sand Hill for 6 months at that point already. So I was ready to just get out into the real Army. Yeah. So I dropped my airborne contract. And then when I do that, it's like, okay, well, you're going to need the Army. I'll take that chance.
Wow.
And
that's ballsy.
Well, it paid off because I got stationed at Fort Lewis, Washington.
Okay.
Which
nice.
was which is still to this day my favorite duty station.
Oh, very cool, man. Yeah.
But that's where I got on the Striker and learned about the Striker. It was a brand new concept in the Army when I got there.
Tell me about a Striker. What is that?
So a Striker is a 8-wheeled armored personnel carrier. It's got a machine gun on top. Depending on the variant, you can also have a turret with a 105 millimeter cannon.
Nice.
They just came out with the Dragoon, which is a 30 millimeter cannon.
Wow.
Chain gun. But it was the concept of the Striker Brigade, excuse me, is it had a higher concentration of infantry per battalion than any other type in the Army, including the Rangers. And we were digitally networked on a tactical computer system. Wow. So, like, I could literally send emails about enemy positions or what have you to basically everybody in the brigade if I wanted to, saying, hey, the enemy's right here. Wow. And we're all networked. And so it was a really special concept, and we were optimized for urban warfare too. Like I did a lot of shoot houses, a lot of close quarter combat shooting. And so when we went to Iraq, which was the first operational deployment of Striker Brigade, we were a brigade that took over the footprint of a division. A division is made up of 3 brigades.
And how many Strikers are in a brigade?
Let me just do some quick math.
Yeah.
I'd say about between 250 and 350.
Holy shit. Okay.
That's if you count every single vehicle in the brigade.
Yeah. Wow.
So maybe it's less than that, but it's because it's 14 strikers per company.
Okay.
And there's 3 companies in a battalion.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there's 3 maneuver battalions.
Yeah.
So, but it was a really fun vehicle, quiet.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think a vehicle that big could be that quiet, and fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was actually, in my first deployment to Iraq, I was actually a striker driver.
Oh, cool.
And I got my striker up to about 70 miles an hour.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
On the interstate in Baghdad.
Wow. How heavy is that damn thing?
19 tons.
Holy shit. Wow, 19 tons going 70 miles an hour? Yeah, that's pretty impressive, man.
Yep.
Yeah. So were you qualified to like work on it, like the engine and everything else?
I to a certain extent, yes. There's what we call operator level maintenance, where we just take care of like simple stuff that goes wrong, changing tires, topping off fluids.
Yeah.
But, when the mechanics did deeper work to it, we would still help them. So I'd be turning wrenches on my striker.
Nice.
Stuff. So yeah.
That's got to be that's like the mechanics is like a pretty thankless job, huh? That you bring them back all fucked up and they got to fix them, don't they? Come on.
Yep.
I know the deal. Yeah.
We break it, they fix it.
Yeah, man.
But
it's only right that you helped them. That's all I'm saying.
I love my mechanics.
Yeah.
I had great mechanics.
Yeah, man. That's cool. Yeah.
But yeah. That's
So you were a driver, and then at one point you said you were the striker commander. What does that mean?
So in the striker, you have the driver up front.
Mm-hmm.
Behind him, you have the squad leader who, when he's in the vehicle, he's actually the commander of the vehicle.
Okay.
And then you have the vehicle commander / gunner. So I was on the weapons station of the vehicle. That was where I sat.
Gotcha.
And then behind us were all the dismounts that would go out and
Do the shit.
Yeah. So what that means is basically when the squad leader was out of the truck, we called them trucks. The vehicle commander would take over. Maneuvering.
Gotcha. Yep.
So, and I was a pretty good vehicle commander. I was actually point on almost every company mission.
Wow.
So, and it was a really good vehicle.
Yeah. So tell me about your team. Tell me about the guys that you were on that striker with.
Oh man, we were a motley bunch. So my squad leader, his name was Staff Sergeant Smith. He looked just like Usher.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So we called him Usher.
Gotcha. Okay.
My driver was from South Carolina. His name was Daniel Gilstrap. He was so straight edge when I got him. He was a baby.
Yeah.
And it was my second deployment was his first deployment.
Okay.
And, he was my direct soldier. He was my soldier that I was in charge of.
Yeah.
And he was a great driver. Sometimes me and Sergeant Smith, like in the middle of the night when we're bored, we'd start needling Gilstrap. And I could hear him hitting his steering wheel on his driver's hatch, getting so mad at us.
Yeah.
And then there was Hawkins, who was from Louisville, Kentucky.
Nice.
And then there was Dave Roshak, who I swear to God, he was I love the guy, but he was a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was Nunez, who we called him he nicknamed himself Hot Sauce. And he'd write hot sauce on his equipment to mark it as his.
Yeah.
And then there was Jimmy Arnold, who I teased him because he was obsessed with Christina Aguilera. So we were a motley bunch.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And it was good times.
How long were you guys together? Like that group?
We were together, that squad, we were together for about 2 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And 15 months. Well, no, actually longer than that, because the deployment was 15 months.
Holy
shit. So we were together. Yeah, my second deployment was 15 months. So we were together 15 months plus about a year, because I came to Alpha Company. We were together for about 2 years.
Wow. Wow. You know, and I asked that question for a reason. Every time, like, especially when I was coaching kids, at the time we had a pretty decent group of kids that were doing tournaments. And, you know, we pushed them. We pushed them hard. Yep. And, you know, we not only on the mats, we pushed them to, you know, get themselves out of their comfort zone. Like, hey, we're going to travel. We're going to go to, you know, nationals, or we're going to go to Kids Pans, or we're going to do something big, you know? Right. And I think we took 8 kids at Kids Nationals. That's pretty good. That is, you know, that's a Vegas trip.
Yes,
and I'll have to tell you about that trip. Oh my gosh. So Amy and I, it was right around our anniversary. We decided we're going to do a cruise, right? Well, then shortly after we booked our cruise, we decided, hey, we're going to take the kids to nationals. And I'm like, that's like the day before our cruise. So we drove, this is stupid. So we drove to Vegas, right? We spent the night there, coached the kids, got in our car, and then drove to Long Beach so we can get on our cruise.
Well, that's not a bad trip, though.
Dude, have you ever been on 75?
Oh, yes, I have.
Holy shit, dude. That's a terrible trip.
But Vegas into a cruise,
that's not bad. That. Yeah, I know. That's a first world complaint right there. I apologize. But you know, it's one of those things, like I always do this. Like, I always overbook myself. You know what I mean? But I have no regrets. But I would always have the kids. Even, you know what, man? I did this before jiu-jitsu. When I was coaching my daughter's soccer team, she might have been 9, okay? And we were killers. Like, I mean, we spent 2 seasons, we sucked. We didn't score a goal. And then our 3rd season, we won everything. We won every game. We won the end of the year tournament. The following year, we won every game, and we lost in the finals of the tournament. But I would tell the kids the same thing every year. I would have them hold hands. We'd be in a big circle. And I would say, enjoy this moment, because this team will never be together again.
Yep.
And I believe that in my heart. Like, that is the truth. Like, you got to enjoy being a part of that kind of team where, I don't know if you noticed this, but you lit up when I asked you about the guys in your truck. And just the way you talked about them is like, I know you're super close, and that team will never be together again.
Nope.
Right? So if you spend your time thinking about that next thing and not enjoying that moment, man, you're missing out. You're missing out big,
you
right?
Are.
Yeah. And I spent a lot of time doing that shit, which I regret. But it's a lesson that I'm passing on to other people. You know what I mean? So, yeah, enjoy that moment, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you, you know, what was it about that group of people that makes you light up like that?
Well, like I've been saying, a common theme is you become closer than close. It's crazy because, like I said, you are constantly together. You can't, a rule we had on the base is you couldn't go anywhere by yourself. You know, so you had to have a battle buddy. So I was with somebody from my squad or my platoon at any given point.
Wow. Yeah.
And we'd eat together, we'd shower together, you know, go on missions together. And you learn things about each other. You just and you depend on each other. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't describe it, but like you said, I lit up and I got the warm and fuzzies just remembering it.
Yeah.
And you know, we shared everything. You know, if a guy got a box from home and another guy didn't, you know, it's like,
hell yeah,
here, you want something, you know. You know, and you become like brothers.
Yeah.
Really, you
It's
do.
not like you are brothers.
And, you know, I will always welcome those guys into my home.
Yeah.
You know, they always have a seat at my table.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there was a podcast that I listened to. Gosh, I can't remember who it was. It might have been like a Tim Kennedy thing or something like that. And he was talking about a friend that he had lost and went to his funeral or somebody. Yeah, he passed away, but they weren't in the same platoon or whatever together, but they were, you know, person was in combat. And anyway, he went to the funeral and he's talking to the family. And, you know, he felt a deep loss as well. But the one thing that the family didn't understand was that they didn't understand that. They didn't understand that he felt that loss as well. Because to them, it's like he's our family. He's not yours. But I think it was Tim Kennedy. He was saying, like, I knew what this guy looked like in the dark. I knew what his farts smelled like.
Yep.
Like, I knew his deepest, darkest secret because he shared them when they were bored out of their fucking minds
Yep.
doing nothing. You know what I mean? And that's that bond that people don't understand, that you're, you know, when you talk about looking for that bond, that's the bond, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man. So tell me about that. Tell me about those guys that are, you know, that are so close that you just know everything about them.
So you just, you know, you finish each other's sentences. You learn things about each other that, you know, you probably, like you said, you probably wouldn't tell to anybody else.
Yeah.
It's like, these guys know stuff about me that my own wife doesn't know.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, it's just, you depend on each other for so much because it's all you got.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't be in a position where you are questioning the guy next to you. You can't.
Yeah.
That, I hate to say it, that's how guys get killed.
Yeah.
You know, so you become tighter than tight.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm actually working towards reuniting with some of these guys.
Oh, nice, man.
Hopefully in September.
Cool. Yeah.
But
when was the last time you saw them?
oh geez. The last time I saw any of them from that squad, I saw Gilstrap 2016. Yep, 2016 when I was in ALC.
Wow. What's ALC?
Advanced Leader Course.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yeah. What was he in that course with you?
No, but he was at the fort where my school was held.
Oh,
he was
nice.
stationed there.
Okay. Yeah.
So got to go spend some time with his family and just spend some time with him. But that was the last time I saw him, yeah.
Wow. Wow. So, you know, changing directions a little bit, you know, I asked Jeff this question about Afghanistan. I want to know what Afghanistan was like. What's Iraq like? Like when you land there or however you got there, what does it smell like? What does it feel like? What is that place like?
It depends on what part of Iraq you're in.
Okay.
It's more developed than Afghanistan.
Okay.
You know, Afghanistan, it was usually pretty undeveloped, pretty third world. Iraq is more second world.
Okay.
But it still had slums and stuff and dirty areas and, you know, trash everywhere.
Was that because the infrastructure just wasn't there anymore after the fall?
That's part of it.
Okay.
And just, I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
But I saw a lot of parking or a lot of empty lots filled with trash. So at the same time, it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very high stress environment.
How so?
So when you're in an urban environment in combat, it's a 360-degree battlefield. You know, you can't just look at ground level. You got to look up at the roof. You got to look down low. You got to look left, right.
It's a bubble.
You have to keep your head on
Yeah.
swivel. Like one of the most nerve-wracking times I ever had is I was in my striker, and I was outside the hatch, and this was when he was called Juba. There was a sniper in Baghdad who was filming his kills, and there was word getting out about him. And I was in this courtyard with these two high-rises on either side of me, and I just remember just looking from window to window and, like, just sitting here going, I am a sitting duck.
Wow. And you were on the gun? You were on the
I was standing up in my hatch.
Yeah.
The weapon station's down low with a joystick, and I was standing up because I liked seeing a lot better.
Yep.
But what's Iraq like? It's
What does it smell like?
I hate to say it, but one of the smells I remember most is burning trash.
Okay.
And it's not a pleasant smell.
No, it's not. It sucks. Yeah.
But it can be dusty, hot.
Yeah.
Very hot.
How hot does it get in the summer?
120, 125 potentially.
Fuck. And how much gear are you wearing in that 120?
About 70 pounds.
70 pounds.
Like,
And then, is your truck air conditioned? I know it's a stupid question.
Well, no. That's actually a really good question because no, it wasn't for most of the time.
Damn.
They issued us cooling vests first. They had this like antifreeze that would go through and keep us cool.
Yeah.
And then they finally got smart and be like, oh, we're going to put air conditioners on the engine packs. And this was month 13 out of a 15-month tour. So it's like, thanks
Just
a lot.
in time to go home?
It's like, thanks a lot, assholes.
Yeah. And was that like December when they did that? I'm just kidding. I don't know.
No, September, August. That was like July.
Okay. So that's not bad.
So
a little relief.
But Iraq, it just, you know, fighting in a city and fighting insurgents, it's like, I've talked with Vietnam vets, and they're like, I tell them, it's like, I wouldn't want your war. And they look at me and go, I wouldn't want yours either.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, because it was the same thing. It's like the enemy didn't wear uniforms.
Mm.
You know, you don't know who's friendly, who's not.
Yeah.
You know, and heck, it's like you could see a kid and think they're waving at you, and they're actually
signaling. Yeah. Wow.
So
wow.
It was high stress.
Kids.
Yeah, kids are great lookouts.
Wow. Wow, man. Tell me. I'm sorry if I'm going too far.
No, you're not.
Okay.
I told you when we started.
Yeah. So tell me. Gosh, I don't know how to ask this question. Tell me about your best deployment.
My best deployment.
Your best deployment, where you could come back and be like, we accomplished our mission. And
it was my second one.
Second one?
My 15-monther.
15-monther, and that was in Iraq?
That was in Iraq. That was we started in Mosul. We were in Mosul for 6 months, and then we moved down to Baghdad. And we were in Baghdad for 9 months.
Wow. Yep. Okay. Okay, and what year was that?
That was 2006, 2007.
That's the height of it.
Yep. And
wow.
I was there when the surge happened.
Yeah.
But just remembering those guys, that was the finest company I've ever served in.
Mm.
You know, and when this episode comes out, I'm going to be tagging a lot of them in this because It's like, you know, I was talking about you guys.
Yeah. What was it that made that group so special?
We were professional.
Yeah.
We did our job. We trusted our leaders. Our leaders were good. They took care of us from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
We were a family because, you know, you got your squad, you got your platoon, you got your company. That company, best friends across platoons.
Wow.
You know, like one of my best friends now that I talk to online from that company, he was actually in 1st platoon, and I was in 3rd. You know, we all knew each other. Mm. We all would hang out together, party together, you know, but when it was time to go, it was time to go.
Yeah.
And when we put that on, it's like nobody could touch us.
Wow.
Nobody could touch us.
Yeah. And as a platoon, did you go on missions with like other platoons, or was it like individual platoons had their own thing and then
usually individual platoons would have their own patrols that they had to work.
Yeah.
But every so often we'd have a company level mission where the entire company went out.
And you're going to go
mission.
fuck some shit up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And what was like, was it like high value targets that you were going after?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Wow.
Sometimes.
Wow.
Otherwise, it'd be a hot tip, and we go investigate a house and see if there was anything.
And were you bringing on like because you were a personnel carrier, so were you bringing like Rangers? Were you bringing like just infantry guys?
Just infantry guys usually, but there were a couple missions where we worked with special operations.
Okay.
There was actually one mission where we had British guys in the back of our striker.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah.
But no, it's generally just us.
Yeah.
And honestly, the platoon missions were the best because it was just us.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, middle of the night, we'd be driving around and talking shit on the radio to each other and, you know, just passing the time. And some of the conversations we had were so funny.
You know? Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned the leadership group. that they were really good? What was it? What was it that they did that was so good compared to others?
So a lot of people don't understand what being a leader really is. They think it's about them.
Mm.
It's not.
Mm.
It's about those in your charge.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes, especially in the military, you got to make tough decisions for your people.
Yeah.
And it may not be the most popular decision, but it's the one that benefits them in the long run.
Yeah.
You know, and they were fair. And I say they, I'm going to name drop a couple people. Men like Jim Harbridge, he was my company commander.
What rank was company commander?
He was a captain.
Okay. Okay. So he had a lot of responsibility. Probably a fucking kid, 28 years old, something like that. No?
No, actually, he was married. He's been married to the same woman for like 30 years, I think.
Yeah.
He has 2 kids, but he was a family man.
Was he a prior enlisted?
I don't know if he was. No,
okay.
I don't think he was. I think he was an academy guy.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
But
yeah.
you know what? That's actually a good question. I need to ask him.
Yeah.
But he took care of his boys.
Yeah.
You know, and then our battalion commander, Colonel Huggins, he did the same thing for the battalion. And just so good, I can't even just, you know, because you hear horror stories about poor leadership or,
Yeah.
you know, the LT that thinks they know everything when they don't know anything.
Yeah.
But this group of men, and I'll just say the unit, it was Alpha Company, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Infantry, were the best that I ever saw in my career.
Wow.
And I was fortunate to be a part of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So you get back from that deployment, and you said that was your second deployment.
It was my second deployment.
And that was a 15-monther.
15-monther.
Okay. And we don't have to go into this at all.
Nope, it's fine.
What was the worst deployment?
My 4th.
Iraq or Afghanistan?
Afghanistan.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I was having marriage trouble. And a deployment just exacerbates that.
Yep. Well, the workup will do a fucking job on it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult to stay focused.
Yeah.
I actually got pulled out of my squad leader position by my PL, my platoon sergeant.
Right.
Because I couldn't focus. And then that was rough living too, because we were on a combat outpost in the valley. We didn't have any plumbing, so we were going to the bathroom number 2 in bags and burning it, which that's really healthy.
Fucking horrible, yeah.
We had to have our water trucked into us every day.
Yeah.
I was showering maybe every 3 days.
Yeah.
You know, and I was working 12 on, 12 off. It was just rough.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I was with another good bunch of guys. But that was tough.
Why was it 12 on, 12 off?
So I was a sergeant of the guard, and we had guard towers around the COP.
Yep.
And the SOGs were on 12 on, 12 off.
Okay. Okay.
So I was one of 2.
Yeah. So what did you do with your off time?
Sleep.
Fucking sleep. Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I really had time to do.
So it was like 0 to 6 to 6 and 6 to 06 or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was when I really started getting jaded and long in the tooth for deployments.
Yeah.
Was at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, you take the good with the bad, and would I do it again? Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you go from a fighting vehicle to sergeant of the guard standing watch, basically? How did that happen?
That's where I wound up.
That's how the cards fell.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And that wasn't anything that you did to
No.
Okay. So
No.
that was just like your next duty station sort of thing.
It's basically what happened. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 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 So you were sergeant. That's good. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about that. What was the highest rank you achieved in the Army?
Staff sergeant.
Staff sergeant. That's good. That's really good. Yeah. And staff sergeant is pretty difficult to get, I would imagine. I know
takes time.
It takes time. Yeah. So that's an E6, and E6 in the Navy is a pretty big deal. E7 is a really big deal, but E6 is a pretty big deal. Did you find it hard to advance at that time? Because there were so many people in the fucking Army at the time.
Without going too deep into it, I did have a bit of trouble advancing.
Okay.
I mean, I was a Sergeant E5 for 10 years almost.
Okay.
So I spent a much longer time at that rank than I should have.
Yeah.
But, you know, did I find it hard to advance? Yeah. But when I was in the Army, it was never about the rank for me.
Yeah.
It was about the experience and doing my job right. And it's kind of the same thing as in Jiu Jitsu. It's, you know, it's not about the belt. It's not about the stripes. It's about the journey.
Yep. All that shit takes care of itself.
So that's the attitude I basically had. So it didn't bother me that much. But when I made staff sergeant, I was obviously happy.
Yeah. What was Afghanistan like? Like more not like you can go as deep as you want, but I want to know like what it felt like you know, I always picture, remember the movie Platoon?
Yep.
Where the back of the airplane, you know, the little thing, and he walks off and he's kind of like looking because he's been in this airplane for so long and he's kind of taking it in. What was it like when you landed there or however you got there? Like, what was that first impression
of Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Empty. Just empty. You know, it's not a very developed country.
Yeah. It's vast, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
Very rugged.
Yeah.
You know, mountainous, a lot of peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
But has a natural beauty too.
Yeah.
What
made it so beautiful?
Just because it wasn't as developed as like we're used to in the West.
Yeah.
You know, or even compared to Iraq. You know, it wasn't as touched by men's hands. And the people of Afghanistan have been living that way for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so they're very traditional, very set in their ways. And I, without necessarily liking it, I appreciated it.
What was it that you appreciated so much?
Afghans are can be very straightforward. Not necessarily upfront, but you know, they are very traditional, and if they make you a promise or something like that, they deliver on it.
Oh wow, okay.
You know,
is that in opposition to Iraqis, or how
no,
are Iraqis?
Iraqis are the same. I would say the Afghans are a lot more traditional.
Yeah.
Because they're not as developed, they don't have the infrastructure that Iraq has.
Yeah.
But it's a different culture.
Yeah.
Whether it's Arab or Afghan. You know, I learned, I got in, you get immersed in that culture. You're around it constantly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I learned to appreciate the things we have in this country because of it.
Yeah. You know, I don't say like, yes, I went on deployments, but I traveled. Okay. When I was in the Navy, it wasn't like I got deployed. I traveled. And I've been to some fucking awesome places, dude. I've been to Ireland. I've been to Norway more times than I care to talk about.
Nice.
It's you know, just like the whole North Atlantic was our kind of area of operation at the time. And I've been to some beautiful countries, but America is fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I always loved coming home, man. There's just
no place like it.
And by the way, I was coming home to Norfolk, Virginia. It sucks there. I don't care. Like,
I actually liked Virginia.
No, Virginia's nice. Norfolk sucks. Like you go into like Western Virginia, not West Virginia. Western Virginia is fucking gorgeous, but Western Virginia, whole other planet compared to Norfolk. Like I would go, I would ride my motorcycle from the base and I would go to South Carolina. Oh my gosh, best beaches ever. Fucking awesome people. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. Norfolk sucks. And I loved coming home to Norfolk. You know what I mean? And I've been talk about like Cove, Ireland, which is amazing. Like it's beautiful, man. It's a gorgeous place. People are awesome. We got off the boat, and there were people like greeting us on the pier, and they're like, "Oh, come to our house, you know, and we'll cook for you and we'll talk." And you know, and I'm like, "Well, in the U.S. that means you're gonna get killed in a basement, right?" But in there, they're like they genuinely want to know about Americans. We were the first American warship to pull into Cove since like World War II or something.
Oh, wow.
Crazy. So it was like very, very new, you know, and beautiful. It was awesome people, you know. But I love coming home. I fucking love coming home.
No place like it.
Yeah. So going from, you know, the fast-paced world of, you know, wherever you were stationed at the time, I don't know, but going to Afghanistan, basically going back to the 14th century, right, with tanks and shit, right? What was that like for the people there? Were they freaked out about it? Because you were early on.
They
right?
were no, I wasn't early on. I was actually pretty late to Afghanistan.
Okay.
My dates in Afghanistan were 2010 to 2011. No, I'm sorry, 2011, 2012, and 2014.
So Osama bin Laden has been killed.
Yeah, he's been dead in the ground for a while.
Yeah.
The Afghans, depending on who they were curious, but I would say they were standoffish.
Yeah.
You know, Afghans are very wary of outsiders. So I'd say the looks we generally got from Afghans was one of apprehension. You know, and then the kids would be curious, you know, because they wouldn't know better.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny because you were talking about people wanting to, you know, get to know Americans. It reminds me of a story from Iraq.
Yeah. We
were on the roof of this house, and we were in like a observation post basically, and it was the summer, and we're in all gear. There's no shade, so this Iraqi family comes up, builds us this shade out of like blankets and couch cushions that we could sit under, and they brought us a pitcher of ice cold water.
Oh my gosh!
And you know, so it's like, you know, you can't, and it makes it more complicated because you can't trust them too much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you know,
that's still a pretty awesome gesture there.
Yeah, very nice gesture.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you get to know them at all? Did you get to know like families there that like you kind of buddied up with a little bit?
Not really, because we didn't stay in one place for too long.
Yeah.
But like our interpreters, we'd get to know. We'd have local nationals work on our bases, and we'd get to know them. But generally speaking, no, not really.
Yeah.
Not like that.
Yeah. Were you ever involved in so from what I understand, it's like Iraq was more city life kind of thing, right?
Absolutely.
Very urban, right? Very urban. More, like you said, more developed than Afghanistan. But Afghanistan sounds to me like more political, because there's different tribes and you have leaders in different tribes who don't like each other. Did you ever have to get involved in any of that politics?
Yes.
Okay.
You do, unfortunately, and it just makes the whole situation even complicated. But then again, it was that way in Iraq too, to an extent.
Okay.
Because tribal connections in Iraq are also very prevalent, especially like in the West, in the Sunni areas of Iraq, like Anbar. What was the other province that Bakuba was in? Babel. I want to say it was Babel province. But they have a lot of tribal affiliations too.
Yeah.
The Afghans are just a lot more traditional about it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So so the difference between the Afghanis and the Afghans, the Afghans. I keep saying
Afghanis, their money.
Yes, they're. Thank you. Jeff corrected me on that as well, and I can't get it through my thick skull. But the difference between the Afghans and the Iraqis, what was there always a power play going on in Iraq? Because it seems like somebody was always trying to vie for some kind of power play.
So, with Iraq, the problem with Iraq, that you have to understand the dynamic, especially when I was there in 06, 07, is the Sunnis had control for years under Saddam and the Ba'ath Party.
Yeah.
The Sunnis are in the minority in Iraq.
Oh.
The Shia
Yeah.
are the dominant sect.
Now, were the Shia considered like the working class compared to the Sunni at the time that Saddam was in power?
Yeah.
And that's why they're the minority now, because they're not in. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, now when we came in, there was a power struggle. We didn't really understand the dynamics of politics in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
We really didn't understand it, and we screwed up by disbanding the army and basically de-Baathification. Basically, if you were affiliated with the Ba'ath Party, you couldn't hold any office or any sort of meaningful infrastructure position. Well, unfortunately, we torpedoed the shit out of their infrastructure by getting rid of them all.
Yeah.
The Afghans, honestly, they just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
You know, you got to think they've been dealing with invaders in their country since the 1800s.
Wow.
You know, first the British, and then the Russians, and then the Soviets, and then us.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. That's a long time to deal with. You know, and the cynical part of me is like, they have a lot of resources that people want, right? They have a lot of, yeah. So
well, that's why the Chinese are moving in there right now.
Yeah. But tell me about the role, in your opinion. Obviously, we don't have proof of any of this. But tell me about the role that Pakistan plays in all of this.
They are playing both sides against the middle.
Okay.
Pakistan is a very fundamentalist Islamic country. Not to the level of, like, say, Saudi Arabia, but they're very much, they want to see Islamic countries around in their satellite, and that Afghanistan falls into that category. You know, Pakistan, if you truly believe, like, for example, that Pakistan didn't know Osama bin Laden was in their country,
Right.
It's like, come on, you're a moron.
Yeah. They're smarter than that.
You know, they were basically playing both sides against the middle.
And I don't know if you want to talk about this at all, but you had some dealings on the border of Pakistan at one point.
Well, they were shooting indirect fire into our base from inside Pakistan, so we'd shoot back.
Yeah.
Now, did that violate ROE at the time? Technically,
maybe.
Yes. But did we care?
Allegedly shooting back. Yeah. So did you find, like, were there any attacks that came, like, directly to you guys that were through Pakistan? Like, you know, were they harboring people and
they were hiding in there?
Yeah.
They were hiding in there.
Yeah.
Were they outright harboring them? I don't know, but the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan is so porous anyways.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So it's hard to say.
It's hard to say, but they were playing both sides against the middle.
Yeah. So of all of the deployments that you went on, I mean, you mentioned the team that you were with in 2004,
2006, 2007.
2006, 2007. Well, I hate to ask this question because we're going to put some people on blast. What was the worst team you were on? And it doesn't have to be,
man.
Listen, you don't have to say any names. You can just give, like, examples of why they were so poor.
My third deployment, I had a terrible first sergeant.
Yeah.
Horrible first sergeant.
Now, what role does he play?
I think you're in the Navy. The equivalent of a first sergeant is chief of the boat.
Okay. Yeah.
The senior enlisted.
That
man.
is a senior enlisted advisor. He is the man. Yeah.
Okay. The first sergeant is that at the company level.
Gotcha.
The
Okay.
battalion level is a sergeant major.
Gotcha.
Company level is a first sergeant.
Gotcha.
Horrible first sergeant.
That sucks.
Killed morale, and we had a weak commander paired with him. I'm not going to name names, but
that's a terrible combination.
I'll put it to you this way. There are people out there who are probably going to listen to this. They'll know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's a bummer. So what did that do? I mean, obviously it makes your deployment pretty fucking long, right? But what did that do? Like, how did that lack of morale affect your effectiveness on the battlefield?
So when you have a poor leadership like that, it undermines trust. And without trust, you have nothing.
Yeah.
How can you function in that sort of environment without it?
Yeah.
you know, it erodes confidence.
Yeah.
And enough of that gets guys killed.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever have any leaders get fired?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How does that work in the Army?
Basically, the next on higher boss basically says you're shit canned.
And they bring somebody else in?
They bring somebody else in.
Were you a part of that? Did that happen like in any of your deployments or workups?
No.
No? Oh, good. Okay. Well, with the exception of that first
Well,
sergeant.
I've had platoon leaders come and go on deployments and stuff, but that's not really a big deal.
Okay.
But as far as like leadership, like at the company or battalion or brigade level, no.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, you had mentioned an IED. You're part of there was an IED strike.
IED strike.
And that's where you got your Purple Heart.
Yep.
Walk me through that day.
It was an armed patrol. My striker was down for maintenance.
Okay.
So when a striker's down for maintenance, the vehicle crew stays in the morning because a lot of times we had 2 patrols a day. One in the morning, one in the afternoon or the evening. Mm-hmm. So it was the second mission of the day. And I was on my platoon sergeant's track, which was the middle, not track, truck, excuse me, which was the middle truck. There were 3 of us. It was headquarters 3-1, 3-4, and 3-2. And we were going down route Lexus, which was the main, I want to say east-west thoroughfare on the east side of Mosul, across the Tigris. The Tigris runs through.
Okay, and what kind of road was that? Was that like green? Was it like safe?
It was generally safe, but we had no option but to travel it. I mean, there was cars going by us and everything. You can't avoid it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we went to an overpass, and I remember, I'm going to kind of move my chair here. I remember because I was in the air guard hatch next to my platoon sergeant.
Yeah.
And I looked up, I cleared the overpass with my rifle, and I came back down like this. And when I came back down, I was looking this direction, and next thing I know, everything, it gets really loud, followed by the whee, you know, in the movies when you hear an explosion and they simulate the whee.
Yeah.
That happens.
Wow.
And it was all dusty and smoky, and I thought my machine gun blew up because there was a machine gun right next to me that I could man. And I thought my machine gun blew up, but I was like, wait a minute, I didn't pull the trigger. That's when I realized that, okay, this is an IED strike. And I estimate it was either an artillery round or some sort of homemade explosive. It was a big explosion.
Yeah. What did it do to the vehicle you were in?
Fortunately for us, our fuel tank was punctured. 2 tires were blown out. A bunch of shrapnel hits around and like up top. One of our radio antennas was blown in half. And I was looking directly at it when it went off.
Wow.
So the thing is I was behind my machine gun. I cleared with my rifle. I came down behind the machine gun, and I was like this behind the machine gun. The blast happened this direction. So if I wasn't down like I was and up like this, all that shrapnel would have hit me right here.
Oh, my gosh.
And basically, I got a little tiny piece of shrapnel right there.
No shit.
That's it.
Wow. What about the rest of you? Helmet? Anything?
Nope.
Wow.
Just hit me shrapnel, and I cut my hand too. But you know, my ears were ringing, my head was pounding. But I was lucky.
Wow. Was the vehicle disabled?
We were able to get it back under our own power.
Wow.
But it was down for several days after that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're able to drive it back all the way to the base?
We were able to drive it back to the base, yeah.
Holy shit, man. Was anybody else injured? Anything happen to anybody else?
The vehicle commander, my buddy Jimmy Ferrier, he got a piece of shrapnel through his arm. And my platoon sergeant got a piece of shrapnel in his cheek and a piece of shrapnel in the back of his neck.
Wow. And everybody lived, thank God.
Everybody lived.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's what. Oh, gosh, man. What does that do to you? Like, I mean, is that something that keeps you up at night? Is it something you think about at all, or was that something you trained for?
No, it's just I was in shock at first. Like, wow, that was close.
No shit.
Yeah. But the funny thing was, is we went back to the fob. We got all cleaned up, and we turned around, and went right back.
Get the fuck out.
Nope. I hopped in the other into my truck. Yeah. I keep saying track.
That's okay. Yeah.
Into my truck, and we drove back out. And I remember I was talking to my vehicle commander. His name's Mark Merriquin, and just talking about what happened and stuff, and just dumb luck.
Wow.
Dumb luck.
Yeah. So was it your whole team that went on that other truck and went out, or was it just you?
No, it was the whole truck.
The whole team.
Truck.
You just got another truck and went back out.
Truck and went back out. Yep.
Wow. Wow. How do you do that? How do you go through an explosion and then just jump right into another truck and go out?
You don't think about it. And I don't want to sound macabre, but one of the things I had to do getting ready for combat was I had to make peace with the fact that I very well could die. Because you can't think about it. Because if you do, it's going to consume you, and you won't be able to function. And when you can't function, that gets guys hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really didn't hit me until I got pinned with my Purple Heart. Then it really hit me how close it was.
Yeah. That's pretty fucking close, dude.
Very close.
Wow. Was that, again, we don't have to talk about this at all. Was that the only close call you had?
In combat, yeah, that was probably the closest one.
Okay. How realistic was training?
I'm going to answer the same way Jeff answered. It didn't prepare us for shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh,
yeah. When Jeff answered that way, I was laughing on my couch because it's true.
Yeah. And Jeff, the thing about his podcast is he's so matter of fact. You know what I mean? Like,
very matter of fact.
Yeah. Like, I knew like halfway through my questions, like he knew what I was going to ask. You know what I mean? He's just like, nah, it didn't prepare me for shit. So, how is it that you can go through, 19 years, 18 years of combat training and combat training and deployments, and the Army still doesn't get it right?
Because how can you get it right? You're not going to know what it's going to be like till you're there.
Yeah.
Training only, like Jeff said, and I'm going to say, it only prepares you for half of it. Mm. The rest of it is you learn on the fly.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a steep learning curve.
Yeah. Yeah.
It gave us a foundation to work with, but how can you prepare for something like that? Mm-hmm. Honestly. Mm-hmm. You can't, you can try.
Yeah.
But you're only going to be able to replicate so much.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, and we do not have to talk about this either. How do you honor those that aren't here anymore? What do you do?
I think about them. We tend to remember anniversaries of deaths. Mm-hmm. There's always Memorial Day.
Yep.
Which is before I joined the Army, I didn't really think much of Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Or Veterans Day, but now it's different.
Yeah. I don't work on Veterans Day. I don't fucking work on Veterans Day.
But it's you think about them, you live for them, because that's what they would have wanted.
Yeah.
You remember them, and you remember the good times. You don't dwell on the bad or the fact that we lost a guy, because we lost a few.
Yeah.
You live for them. And like for me, one of the ways I honor my friends is one of my geese I sewed up. You saw it.
Yeah.
You've seen it. I sewed up my CIB and my OIF veteran, OEF veteran patches and my We Defy shield.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I honor them.
Yeah.
You know, like I take them with me onto the mats, basically.
Yeah. How can people who didn't serve honor those people?
That's a good question.
Because I think there's people out there that, you know, could have served but didn't, or wanted to serve but couldn't, that think like there's got to be something I can do to honor them.
It depends. There's a lot of charities out there, you know, donate to them.
Yeah.
You know, We Defy being an example.
Yeah.
Team Rubicon, Wounded Warrior Project.
Yeah.
You know, donate to those causes. The biggest thing veterans want, though, is when Memorial Day rolls around, remember why it's Memorial Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people, they just see it as a day off work and barbecue and stuff like that. It's like, remember why it's Memorial Day.
Just take 10 minutes, man.
Because because for vets like me and stuff who had friends who were killed, you know, it's a somber time.
Yeah.
You know, and people don't know better, but they should in some regards. I'm going to say that.
That's a great way to put it, man. They don't know any better, but they should. You know, and all it takes is a couple minutes, right? A couple minutes, just raise a glass or, you know, have a moment of silence or whatever, man. Or donate money. Donate money. Like whatever the cause, right? We have a Travis Mills Foundation open mat going on next Saturday. And, you know, I didn't serve in combat. And I don't know what that's like.
You served.
I served. I did my time. I did 9 years, 8 months, and 28 days. 6 months, sorry. 9 years, 6 months, and 28 days. But that's just my way of giving back. You know what I mean? Like this, I want to find a way. And if you show up to an open mat and donate $20, cool. It's all going to go. It's all going to go to the foundation. And I'll tell you why I got passionate about it, because I was kind of dabbling. You know, my friend, I don't know if you know Dan Crepata. He's a brown belt.
I do not.
Cool dude, man. You'll like him. You'd like him. He's not a veteran, anything like that, but his sister is. And his sister is a Army veteran, and she was an officer. She lost her leg. And she got involved with the Travis Mills Foundation. Now, being a female officer, not the most popular position in the Army, right?
Right.
And she always felt like, you know, maybe they didn't have her back. And, you know, and then, you know how it is, man. You get wounded and they kind of push you aside and the big machine keeps rolling. So, you know, that there's a little bit of gap there. There's a little, you know, a little heartache there because she poured her heart into it, you know?
Right.
And then she gets involved with this Travis Mills Foundation, and she goes to their, they have a big lodge in Maine. It's like, I can't remember who they partnered with. I think it was like that, the guy from Dirty Jobs, something. Jim Rowe, something like that. Micro. So, I believe that's who they partnered with. Anyway, they rebuilt this freaking hotel, right? And they made it like this big thing where veterans, you know, with, or not just veterans, but anybody with like a traumatic amputation, right, can go there and they'll learn how to like boat and fish and hike and all this stuff.
Cool.
The part that touched me the most, well, two things. Well, she went there. She doesn't have a family, but she has a dog, right? So she goes there. She shows up. It's late at night, right? But they have her room ready for her. Not only do they have the room ready for her, they have a dog bed. They have dog treats. They have a bowl. They have everything she needs. Like, she is all set. And she spends, I think, like a week, I think, there. But it was really like the way she talked about it is like they had her back. They had her back. So how can you not want to be involved in that kind of, you know, foundation, right? So we do a couple, like a golf tournament a year. We do an open mat a year. And normally, I think we're probably bringing in about 50 grand, maybe something like that, maybe 40 grand. This year, our goal is 150 grand for that foundation.
Nice.
Right? So all I have is mat space. All I have is time. But I'm going to give it, right? This is what I'm going to donate to build it to help this foundation. I don't know anybody else that's been to that place. I don't care, right? But it's one thing to sit on the sidelines and go, wow, that's pretty cool. It's another thing to actually donate money, right?
Yep.
Donate time. Do something, right? And I love that you just said fucking help, right? Just buy a sweatshirt, right? Every penny counts. So, yeah, I love that, man. So, we're kind of up against it. We've been going for almost 2 hours, but I just want to thank you for coming on the show, man.
No, thanks for having me, Alex.
Yeah.
It means a lot.
No, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, man, because I think it's a story that needs to be told. And there's so many out there that, you know, guys like you who's so fucking shy.
Well, I got a little liquid courage in me, so.
Yeah, I love it. But I'll tell you what, man, let everybody know about, one more time about We Defy and where they can find you on social media and how they can follow you.
Okay, so you can follow me on Facebook at Alex Montalvo or Instagram at Cyberdyne_BJJ, CYBERDYNE_BJJ. If you go into Alex's friends list, you'll find me.
Yep.
And for Weedify, the website is Weedify Foundation, WEDEFY Foundation.org. And just buy a shirt, make a donation, volunteer to be an ambassador, you know, because you're out there, you know, you're helping veterans get back on their feet and get the therapy they need, you know, and being a jiu-jitsu practitioner, I swear by it, you know, get out there, train, you know, and leave it all on the mats, and you just can't believe how therapeutic it is.
I love it, man. I love it. Thank you. And, hey, if you love the podcast, please like and subscribe. Please follow us on Instagram. Oh, we got to do the lightning round. Shit. I almost forgot. Sorry, it's the booze. All right. So we're going to do the lightning round. You got to answer as quickly as possible.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Name a game show you think you could actually win.
Jeopardy.
What's your favorite cheat meal?
Macaroni and cheese.
What's the longest you've gone without brushing your teeth?
A week.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
South of Heaven by Slayer.
Okay, that's deep. What's a dumb song you secretly like?
I Make You Want La La by Ashley Simpson.
Do you sleep in or nap?
Nap.
PlayStation or Xbox?
Xbox.
DC or Marvel?
Marvel.
Travel into the future or back in time?
Back in time.
Rolling Stones or Elvis?
Rolling Stones.
Use a public restroom or hold it?
Use a public restroom.
What's your favorite childhood TV show?
G.I. Joe.
Yes, nice. All right, everybody, if you love the show, please like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on all the social media stuff. The BJJ Foxcast. Don't go to my website yet because I haven't put any time into it, but it's coming soon, I promise. Alex, thank you so much for doing this, brother.
Thank you, Alex,
love you,
very
man.
much, brother.
Yeah.